comparing those with very different price points, there is always someone saying, "What's the point? It's like comparing a Lamborghini to a Fiat." This sort of comparison are actually very useful. Someone interested in purchasing the Mini 3 might be interested to see how it performs compared to the benchmarking quality of DJI prosumer line, the Mavic 3. Also, some professional or prosumer users who already own a Mavic 3 might consider adding the Mini 3 to their bag, because of its weight below 250 grams, which involves more relaxed regulation in many countries, especially for urban usage. They might also be attracted by the vertical video shooting for posting on social media. There are obviously some major differences in video specs between the two models. The Mini 3 for a lightweight model has a relatively big sensor of 0.77 inches, an extremely wide fixed aperture of f1.7 and a video resolution of 4K with a frame rate of up to 60 frames per second. There are two color modes, normal and this is alike. The Mavic 3 has a huge 1.33 inches sensor, a variable aperture from f2.8 to f11, and a video resolution of 5.1K. There are three color modes available, normal, D-Log and HLG. From the spec, we should expect a much higher video quality from the Mavic 3, but the young fellow has already shown some surprising capabilities. Obviously, image quality is only part of the equation. Many professional users might decide to pay the extra price of the Mavic 3 because of the variable aperture, the higher video resolution, the longer battery life, the omnidirectional obstacle sensors, or the telephoto lens, regardless of footage quality. The normal mode in the Mavic 3 is the amazing Hasselblad Natural Color Solution, the true benchmark for ready-to-use color modes in the DJI prosumer line. I tend to use the 10-bit flat profiles whenever they are available, but normal in the Mavic 3 is so good that I use it very often. Even just out of the memory disk, without any color grading, the footage is excellent, with beautiful colors, great dynamic range and plenty of detail, while maintaining a very natural look. The structure of the sky is a thing of beauty. We can add a touch of contrast and a bit of warmth to the white balance, but it is the only color mode that really doesn't need much editing. Normal mode in the Mini 3 needs a bit of help for color grading, a bit of contrast and a good dose of saturation. There is a tendency toward a yellowish tone, so we move the temperature towards the blue. The dynamic range is certainly lower than the one of the bigger guy, and at times the shadows are a bit too dark. Let's put the two face to face. The clips were taken one immediately after the other. They are not graded and shot with manual exposure. The white balance was set at 5500K for both. We can clearly see a much better structure of the sky, more detail, more dynamic range, and more info in the shadows for the Mavic 3. The performance of the Mini 3 is not bad at all, but the natural color solution of the Mavic 3 is sensational. Now a couple of top-down views to take the sky out of the equation and concentrate on detail and color rendition. Both drones perform very well, but I can detect just a touch of extra detail in the Mavic 3, especially in the shadows. The log is the classic 10-bit flat profile meant for heavy post-processing. It is supposed to perform better in situations of high dynamic range, and it is the one to use to adapt the footage to the color scheme of a specific project. I find that it responds very well to color grading, has very rich colors, plenty of details in the shadows, and no artifacts like color banding in the sky, noise, or chromatic aberrations. When color grading, it is important to use a correct LUT. DJI supplies a very good one to use with this color profile. You will find a link to the download page in the description below. Another profile, HLG, has been recently added to the Mavic 3 by a firmware update. It is a welcome addition, and in certain situations it works really well with a very extended dynamic range and plenty of detail. At the moment it has a strong tendency to overexpose, but it is only the first release. I imagine it will be tweaked in further firmware updates. The Mini 3 has its own flat profile, Disney-like. It has gone through a lot of improvements over the different firmware updates. It was originally an 8-bit mode, but it was turned into a 10-bit one. The quality of the footage is quite good, but the dynamic range is nowhere near the one of the Mavic 3. The stretch of the sky is a bit disappointing, and the shadows often tend to be too dark. In situations of medium dynamic range, it's quite difficult to have both the sky and the element on the ground properly exposed. Considering the price point and the size of the sensor, the performance is quite good. But it cannot match the quality of the flagship model. And now some low-light footage, shot after sunset with the last bit of twilight. As usual, the performance of the Mavic 3 is very solid. Thanks to the huge sensors, there is a lot of detail in the shadows and very rich colors. And believe me, it might not look so, but it was very, very dark. There is just a touch of luminance noise in the sky and in the sea, but it's not at all an issue, as I used the excellent neat video to get rid of it. You can watch my video about this excellent denoiser by clicking on the link on screen now. The Mini 3 in low light performs extremely well. This is the department where it really competes against the Mavic 3. The detail and the colors are excellent, almost as good as in the bigger model, and there is hardly any noise. The huge aperture of the lens manages to gather plenty of light. Well done! Both models have their house specialty, their secret weapon, their ace under the sleeve. The Mavic 3 is the only prosumer drone with a dual lens system. The 162mm telephoto lens with an optical 7x zoom factor adds huge possibilities for creative footage. It is possible to achieve sensational parallax shots. Get close to subjects that cannot be easily reached, or film wildlife without disturbing them. At the time of the first release, the telephoto lens was a bit of a disappointment, but it has been constantly improved by firmware updates, and it works quite well now. The quality is obviously nowhere near the one of the main wide-angle lens, But the detail is now decent, and by tweaking the colors in post-processing, it is possible to get quite good results. I found it extremely useful. The Mini 3 Pro is the only drone of the actual DJI line with a lens that can rotate to shoot vertical video and photos. The main target is obviously users who are interested in posting on social media platforms. But I'm also very intrigued by the possibility to shoot photos in portrait format, as it opens up new creative possibilities. Vertical panoramas and hyperlapses are also very interesting. Click on this link to watch my comparison of the two models for photography. And don't forget to hit the like button if you find this video interesting. Thank you.